Our next photographer in the shutter speed assignment is Aaron Siskind. Now, Aaron Siskind, an American photographer, also a teacher, taught at the Institute of Design on the south side of Chicago in the 1950s. Was very responsible for expanding photographic education throughout the country. Many of his students went on to open up photography departments all around the country. As far as our assignment goes, he created a body of work that was very interesting, revolving around fast shutter speed, freezing motion. One day, Siskind happened to be down by Lake Michigan, out on the beach there, and he noticed some divers jumping off the pier and doing these aerobatics, backflips, and such as they were diving into the water. And he thought, I've got something here. So what did he do? Did he shoot them from a distance? No, he got up very close to them. Matter of fact, right under them. And this is a good point to make, that all of these assignments really kind of go back to the first assignment. The idea of using interesting perspectives, for instance. Instead of shooting them from the beach, maybe with a long lens and focusing on a normal viewpoint, he got underneath them and photographed them as they flew over his head, diving into the lake. Now, by photographing them against the sky, they turned totally white. Oh, Christ, I can't. By photographing them against the sky turned into a plain white backdrop and isolated them from any kind of reference to reality. So it looks like these bodies are just floating in space. The fast shutter speed gets rid of any feeling of motion, so it looks like they're just levitating. And that's actually what he called the series. He called it Terrors and Pleasures of Levitation. So you can see the combination of the fast shutter speed along with a good viewpoint and eliminating any details he didn't want, besides the divers, made for an interesting set of photographs. Next, a series of photographs involving panning. Now, panning is when you follow an object that's moving with your camera. Rather than standing still and the object moves past the camera, you track it with the camera. You keep it in the same spot in the frame as you follow the object, and then use a medium to slow shutter speed. So what happens is, since you're tracking the object stays sharp, but the background blurs. This is probably a 30th of a second or so in this picture, the bicyclist. And you can get some really interesting effects through panning. Here is just an everyday trolley, and yet with the slow shutter speed combined with the panning, it looks like he's zooming into light speed. Now, when you photograph a person or an animal with panning, you can get some interesting effects, because what happens is, unlike a solid vehicle like a car or bicycle, such, people move at different rates. Their arms and legs move at a different speed and back and forth relative to their torso. So what you see in the picture of this girl here, aside from the fact she looks like she's going 70 miles an hour, is that her head and torso are pretty sharp, but her arms and legs end up blurring out into kind of rather bizarre looking shapes here. And here we have the world's fastest unicyclist, zipping down the road on one wheel. So the best way to do panning is experiment. Depending on if the object's moving fairly fast, even a 60th of a second might work. If it's moving slower, 15th of a second, maybe even an 1/8. So anyway, experiment and see what you come up with.